Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this regular meeting of Fernie City Council held on February 24th, 2026. Kisukukit. We acknowledge that the city of Fernie is located within Kukinamakis, the unceded territory of Yakutat Nucleat First Nation. We recognize that we live and work within their vast lands. The Kanahunik are from Yakutat Nucleat and are members of the Ktunaxa-speaking peoples of British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana. Before I call the meeting to order, I'd just like to remind everybody that February 25th, tomorrow, is Pink Shirt Day, and the theme this year is Sprinkle Kindness. Pink Shirt Day aims to raise awareness of bullying in schools, workplaces, homes, and online. And with that, I'll call the meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. and ask for a mover and a seconder for the following recommendation: that the agenda of the February 24th, 2026 regular meeting be adopted. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audia-Kelly. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. And I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for the following staff recommendation: that the minutes of the February 10th, 2026 regular meeting be adopted. Moved by Councillor Nixon, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. And finally, that Council, a mover and a seconder, for the following staff recommendation: that Council approve the summary of public hearing representations dated February 17th, 2026 regarding the public hearing for official community plan bylaw number 2231, amendment bylaw number 2535, 2025, and zoning bylaw number 1750, amendment bylaw number 2536, 2025. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. I'll now open the floor to public participation and invite public in attendance or participating electronically who wish to comment on items listed on the meeting agenda in accordance with section 3.7.3 of the procedure bylaw to address council, except speakers must not address council regarding a matter for which a public hearing must be held or has been held pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of the matter or adoption of the bylaw. And specifically this evening, that references item 10.1. Speakers must not address council regarding a permit for which public notice must be given or has been given pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of issuance of the permit. A speaker may only address council for a maximum of 3 minutes, and speakers are asked to state their full name and community of residence. Is there anyone who wishes to speak this evening? Anyone online indicated? No? Approach the podium.
Chris Inglis, former resident of Fernie, currently live most of the time in Cranbrook, been here quite often in Fernie due to my mom's declining health, but she has since passed. Mayor, Council, I'm here tonight just as part of a community fundraiser, and it's not on the agenda, so before
I'm sorry, Mr. Inglis. And I'm very sorry for your loss, but public participation is specifically for items listed on the agenda.
Appreciate that, Mayor. That's why I didn't bring it up. I asked for permission first to speak to it because it is about a community fundraiser.
Well, you're certainly welcome to forward that, but I can't allow you to speak this evening. Sorry. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to item 10.1 and a report from our manager of planning, Mr. Similini.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, Council. Just a brief presentation tonight, Your Worship and Council, on the Fernie Fire Hall OCP and rezoning, which is coming forward tonight for third reading. Brief summary of the presentation. We will go over bylaw 2535, which is the OCP amendment, and bylaw 2536, which is the zoning amendment. Take a brief look at the timeline and where we're at, and then also take a look at the summary of consultation based on the public hearing from last week. So bylaw 2535 is proposing to amend the official community plan bylaw to recognize the Fernie Fire Hall as an institutional use, an important institutional use, to amend the land use map to change a portion of the subject property from parks to institutional, and to amend the parks, trails, facilities, and open space network map to remove the area being proposed for the fire hall from the parks section, and then to add it as the fire hall as a facility on that site. Bylaw 2536, the zoning amendment, is proposing to include emergency services as a permitted use in the public institutional zone, and also amend the zoning map similar to the land use map of the OCP to change the subject property from parks and open space to public institutional. Again, brief look at the timeline. From the zoning bylaw perspective, this doesn't take into perspective, obviously, the timeline of the entire project, but on November 12th, we came forward to council, and council established early and ongoing consultation relating to the OCP bylaw. On December 9th, the bylaw came forward for first and second readings. We then did a public notice, or notice of public hearing, was posted on January 29th, 2026. That was posted at the public posting places and hand delivered and mailed. And then also the free press, it was in the free press on February 5th and February 12th. Minister of Transportation gave approval of the bylaws on February 9th for bylaw 2535 and February 17th for bylaw 2536. The reason that those are different is the ministry just didn't realize that there was two bylaws. At first they signed one bylaw, and we got back to them and they sent the second signed one shortly after that. Then the public hearing was held on February 17th, 2026. Tonight we are looking at third readings of the bylaws, and then tentatively March 3rd, which is a week from tonight, for adoption of the bylaws. Summary of consultation. In total, 399 pieces of consultation were received from the public prior to the public hearing, and then there were 16 speakers at the public hearing. And I just wanted to go through briefly some of the themes that were very similar to the themes that we saw at the time of early and ongoing consultation. So why are the OCP and zoning amendments happening now? Originally, the bylaw amendment process was scheduled to kick off after the borrowing referendum. However, once it was determined that the referendum wasn't required, the bylaw process was able to proceed after the right of reverter was lifted, which occurred in the fall of 2025. So that kickstarted the process. Further, it's important to note that regardless of the location for the fire hall, an OCP and zoning amendment would be required because the OCP and zoning bylaw were largely silent on emergency services, and other locations would likely require land use and zoning amendments as well. There was issues with trust and transparency related to the site selection process. The process of site selection for the fire hall site has been well documented and publicized. Relating to the bylaw amendments, all legislative requirements are being followed. It's important to note that our Let's Talk website, letstalk.fernie.ca/firehall, is full of information on the selection process as well. So you can actually look at the PDF document that was brought forward to council at previous meetings as well. There is some confusion over Prentice Park being donated versus purchased by the city. Prentice Park was purchased by the city in 1972 from Crow's Nest Resources for a purchase price of just over $40,000. Prentice Park was not donated to the city. Again, it was purchased. There are concerns around the replacement of the ball diamond. Part of the fire hall budget includes $95,000 for upgrades at a James White Park baseball diamond in the short term. In the longer term, the city receives strong support from user groups to potentially redevelop the old landfill site on Coal Creek Road. There was concerns over maintaining green space or a lack of parkland in Fernie. The proposed fire hall site represents approximately 0.35% of the total green space and park owned by the city, including institutional lands. If the old landfill site is utilized as a ballpark in the future, it would actually represent a net gain in the recreational parkland for the city. There was some confusion over dedicated parkland versus designated parkland. So parkland dedication is done through the subdivision process with the Land Title and Survey Authority of BC, or LTSA. If a piece of land has parkland dedication, it must go through elector approval before being disposed of. Conversely, parkland designation is done through municipal zoning and not protected in the same way that dedication is. Prentice Park is zoned or designated park and not protected or dedicated park. There was some questions surrounding First Nations consultation. Staff have consulted with the Aqiqat First Nation regarding the project, potential partnerships, and the site. While potential partnerships did not advance, staff have ongoing positive collaboration with the nation and are looking forward to working together on firefighter training and emergency management planning. Lastly, there were some overall concerns related to site feasibility, such as site congestion, helipad interference. Concerns were considered as part of the site selection and pre-planning process. It was previously reported that $188,000 was dedicated to site selection and pre-planning, and there was $72,000 dedicated to due diligence regarding flight path consulting. So those items have been reviewed and are not a concern of staff. That brings me to the recommendation tonight that the bylaw is given third reading.
Questions, comments from council? Seeing none, I will turn to our corporate officer. I apologize. It's a lot of reading. If you could read the first recommendation.
Your Worship and Council, the staff recommendation is that Council give third reading to Official Community Plan Bylaw number 2231, Amendment Bylaw number 2535-2025, to amend the Official Community Plan Bylaw number 2231 by amending the text of Section 9B.9 of the bylaw to include Fernie Fire Hall as a key institutional use, amending Schedule B land use designations of the bylaw to change the land use designation of a portion of Lot 1, District Lot 4588, Kootenay District Plan 8097, except part in Plan NEP 21661, Prentice Park, from parks to institutional, amending Schedule D, parks, trails, facilities and open space network of the bylaw to remove the area shown as park on a portion of Prentice Park, and amending Schedule D, parks, trails, facilities and open space network by inserting a facility labelled Fernie Fire Hall.
I ask for a mover. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Discussion? Councillor Shoesman.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan. I was attempting to get something written up for this, but children continually intervene. So forgive me if I ramble slightly. I still feel that in light of all the large-scale infrastructure issues that we're going to have to be dealing with, and in light of the covenant on that property, I feel we're building too much and in the wrong spot. And I think that at the very least, we should wait until we've heard back from the court. I understand, given the schedule of things, this won't be sticking a shovel in the ground, but I don't support this. Thank you.
Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you. Notes that I had written up, I'll just kind of read what I've put together. So, no, I didn't vote for this site, the initial site selection process, but I do recognize how transparent this process has been. At every step of the way, we've sought community input. And quite frankly, I don't think there's going to be any site in this town that is going to satisfy everybody and make everybody happy. So, you know, as one of the speakers in the public input said, and I'm not going to quote it exactly, but our job here is to be very mindful of the costs and the taxpayers' dollars. We still have a number of unknowns, whether it's the results from the grant that we're still looking to hear back from, whether it's the results of the Supreme Court that was just mentioned. These are unknown risks, but we do have a bunch of known risks if we delay this project any further. We will almost immediately be required to upgrade our current staging facility for firefighters. That is going to have a significant cost. We are going to put another layer of doubt or risk on this grant by delaying it. And we are also going to then incur additional fees for another feasibility site selection process. All of these things are just adding costs. So for those reasons, I'm in favor of moving forward.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments? Councillor Ramdas?
Thanks, Your Worship. The question on hand here is around zoning. So the public hearing had lots of good things coming from both sides of the debate. Many of them were good, but not many of them were relevant to what was on hand. This is around zoning issue. Are we voting for the zoning or not? So my viewpoint wasn't convinced otherwise from what I voted on first and second reading. Meaning I voted no, and I probably will continue voting no in the third reading as well. And the reason is simple, Your Worship. It's just that this legal overhang that is on our heads, I don't know how that is going to pan out. I just want that to go away before we can go ahead and make a firm decision. So I'll be voting no here.
Thank you. Other comments? Councillor Audie Kelly. And sorry, was that Councillor Nixon as well? Okay.
I too, I just made a couple of small notes myself. I do support building a new fire hall for Fernie because I think we need to invest in public safety. I'm going to be very frank and say I'm very, very concerned about the infrastructure costs that are coming at the taxpayer. We are undoubtedly going to have to borrow a significant amount of money, even if we're successful with grants. But I am uncomfortable advancing the third reading while the court decision remains outstanding. And I am feeling that that presents a level of risk. And I would like to, I think it's responsible to wait for the legal clarity because it's my understanding that we agreed not to put shovels in the ground and that we could in fact, once the decision is rendered, have third reading and pass the bylaw in a fairly quick order. So I believe that we should wait, as some speakers did speak to us about. I think we should wait for the legal clarity and then look at moving on. Thanks, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, there was significant criticism that we were not, well, not significant, but there was criticism in regards to the court case and how we're not going to wait for it and stuff like that. The decision when it comes to the zoning reuse, but I'm just curious if we were to delay this third reading, what are the cascading effects to the entire project and to the grant? Is that sort of an unknown, or can you answer that, Mr. Simile?
Mr. Baranowski.
We're not reporting to the adjudicators on the status of our zoning and our LCP amending bylaw. As you'll recall, when we submitted the grant, the application was essentially frozen at that point. So it is what it is. That grant application is considered a complete set of information for them. Separately, it's just delay. If we have a decision and if we have a decision one way or another, there's then a approximate, I would say, 3 to 4 week delay in terms of bringing reports onto agendas, undertaking public notice, bring them forward for reading. It's not a tremendous amount, but that's 3 to 4 weeks down the line. And yeah, I mean, at this point in time, I don't have a detailed cost analysis of what that cost per week would be, given contracting is obviously right now frozen and on hold. We haven't been doing like month over month pricing analysis of, okay, if we started in 6 weeks, what happens? What happens when winter comes? Like there's a lot of variables. So I can't give you a fixed number, but I can give you the time frame. Is that fair, Mr. Similini? Anything to add?
Thank you, Mr. Baranowski. Yeah, I mean, from the zoning perspective, 3 to 4 weeks. But you mentioned cascading. There's potential issues with the building permit process. So our building bylaw states that all applications must be compliant with all of the city bylaws before they're allowed to be made. So if zoning being one of those things. So technically, we shouldn't be reviewing a building permit application until the zoning is approved. So if the zoning was approved, we could review the building permit application, albeit that's running a little bit of a risk if the court case denies Prentice Park from being used, right? But we can do that after the adoption of the bylaw, whereas if we wait for adoption of the bylaw, we'd then be waiting for building permit review, which would then cascade that timeline longer.
Councillor?
Thanks, Your Worship. Follow-up, Manager Similini. Thanks, Councillor Nixon, because I did want to ask about that. How is the design finalized?
Sorry, Councillor Adikale?
Is the design finalized?
I'll leave that to Mr. Baranowski, but I believe the design is finalized. Yeah.
Final costing and tendering has all been issued, I do believe now. Yeah.
Okay, so the design's finalized, final costing has been tendered. So would there be any obstacles to having a building permit application ready to go should the bylaws pass?
Through to council, no, the application would be able to move forward if the bylaws were to pass.
So just to be clear, we could have the application already based on final design, based on our contracting, and then follow up with final readings.
Yeah, through to council, the building bylaw prevents us from officially receiving an application for a building permit, but the application can be compiled and ready and then put into call it the queue. I mean, obviously this is outside of the queue as a priority project, but put into the application hopper once the bylaw is adopted. The delay would be if upon review of that building permit application, if there's any issues or any back and forth that need to happen between the architect and the building officials, that's where the delays would potentially be. Whereas those could happen directly after adoption if we were to adopt now and before the court decision.
Mm-hmm. Councillor McIsaac.
Thank you, Worship. Just in line with where Councillor Adikale was going and cause and effect here, having had third reading, are we now required to tear up the baseball diamond and start digging? No.
Your Worship, through to council, no. As a matter of fact, our zoning bylaw does allow parks in all zones. So if the rezoning were to go through, and then and the OCP amendment were to go through and the court case were to say Prentice Park cannot be used for the fire hall, it could remain as is, and we could do another zoning bylaw to rezone back. And for what it's worth, we're doing our OCP right now too, so we could take care of that in the OCP process as well. So yeah, not really any harm as far as the Prentice Park. If the court decides, then the bylaws can stay as is and still can Prentice Park.
And just to be clear, if we move forward with third reading, we are moving along in the process of preparing for the potential use of that park. Should the court case inform us that we are not allowed to use the park, nothing will happen. We move on to the next thing. All we've done is delayed, but we've changed nothing, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Baranowski.
Thank you. Just a note of clarification, and I know council is generally aware of this and clear on this, but just for the record, the petition in front of the Supreme Court is not on whether or not the lands can be used for a fire hall. It's on whether or not a trust exists and on whether or not council followed good process and made a judicially appropriate decision in terms of the process. So we're using very conversational language, but I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. Other questions, comments from council? Councillor Shoesmith.
Thanks, Mayor Milligan. for what it's worth, I think that the vast majority of the town is tired of all of this and finds all of this upset distasteful, as do I. And, for me, this isn't a partisan thing. I just I've had my opinions on this from early on and they haven't changed. So thank you very much.
Thank you. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Councillor Hamilton, Councillor McIsaac, Councillor Nixon, and myself. And those opposed, Councillor Shoesmith, Councillor Audie Kelly, Councillor Amanas. And if you read item 2.
That was only the zoning, we're on to the zoning.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, so the second staff recommendation is that council give third reading to zoning bylaw number 1750, amendment bylaw number 2536, 2025, by amending the text of the bylaw to include emergency services as a permitted use in the public institutional zone and amending Schedule A zoning map of the bylaw to rezone a portion of Lot 1, District Lot 4588, Kootenay District Plan 8097, except Part N Plan NEP 21661 from P2 Parks and Open Space to P1 Public Institutional.
Mover, Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Discussion. All those in favor? Same as before. Councillor Hamilton, Councillor McIsaac, Councillor Nixon, and myself. Opposed? Councillor Shoesmith, Councillor Audie Kelly, and Councillor Amanas. And I just wanted to comment. I do thank you, Mr. Similiano. You're on the next item. I do want to comment that I understand the call it reluctance with the legal case hanging over us, but the legal case will be what it will be regardless, and we will decide at that point what we do next. And so I don't want to dismiss the concerns of council or the concerns of the community about that issue, but I do accept that this has been a long and difficult process, and I'm of a mind to keep it moving forward in the way we can, understanding that there may be a decision that we will then have to respond to or deal with. So thank you for that, council. Item 10.2, municipal ticket information bylaw, a report from our manager of planning. Welcome back, Mr. Similini.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Council. Just quickly go over municipal ticket information bylaw number 2041, amendment bylaw 2545. Previously, we had adopted our building and plumbing bylaw, and the old plumbing and building bylaw tied directly to the MTI bylaw at the time, albeit the fine amounts were very low. And we made an amendment to tie those two together, and then we're bringing back tonight some updated fine amounts to be a little bit more current. So right now, with the existing MTI bylaw, the fine amounts do not fully align with the update to the plumbing and building bylaw. So the plumbing and building bylaw speak to certain violations, for example, and there's nothing in the MTI that actually tie back to have any sort of fine associated with those violations. And again, the MTIs are currently outdated in value. So the purpose of this amendment is to adjust those amounts based on mostly a cost recovery model, like we've seen before with the permit amounts in the plumbing and building bylaw, and also the procedures and fees bylaw. So our team did a calculation based on how much time is spent on when there is a violation and sort of what the cost recovery would be of that. We also looked at inflation, what the old fine amounts were and what they would translate to now. And then we compared with other communities to see if the numbers that we came up with were in the ballpark. There was a pretty big variation in the other communities, but there were a couple that were close to the numbers that we came up with. So we used that as a check. So just a quick summary or just a quick analysis. The existing MTI fines ranged anywhere from $100 to $500. To be clear, these are things like doing work without a building permit or moving into a building without an occupancy permit, things like that. The new or adjusted fine amounts range between $500 and $1,000. So in some cases they double, in some cases they go up quite a bit. But again, we thought it was important to have those. An important point here is that when there is a violation, when somebody does work without a building permit, for example, our building officials are often tied up with a lot of that work. It takes away from those applications that came in and permits that are ready to issue. And that in turn contributes to the bit of a crisis we had with permit turnaround times. So the more time we spend on violations is less time that we are spending on actually issuing permits. So we did want these fines to be somewhat punitive as well. So to try to prevent those works from happening. So we will see if that is the result or not, but nonetheless, we are proposing that tonight. So our recommendation is that council give first, second, and third reading to the bylaw, or the other option is that council direct staff otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments from council? Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Your Worship. Your last statement about, hoping that these new fees act as a deterrent. What sort of metrics are you going to be capturing to make a determination if that's successful or not? How are we going to know, and how will you approach future councils about either needing to raise the fees even further, or can you kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, Your Worship, through to Councillor Hamilton. I think just keeping track of what we see as far as violations. We're hoping that it's a little bit of a chicken or the egg scenario, where if our permit timelines are better, there's not the desire to try to cheat the system by not applying for permits, for example. But if we do see a lot of violations, I mean, it'll be pretty clear that the fine amounts aren't being taken seriously, right? So then we come back to council with higher rates. But it's again, well, it's just something that we'll keep track of and report, and we can report back to council on that in quarterly reports, for example. Yeah. Further questions? Councillor Adi Kelly.
Did we build any kind of inflationary aspect into it, Manager Similini? I might have missed it if we did.
Through to Councillor Adi Kelly, the amounts right now are static. But we did consider inflation when we calculated those amounts. So it's similar to the procedures and fees bylaw and the building bylaw. Those amounts are also static. But that being said, I think that it's worthwhile to have periodic reviews of these bylaws and bring forward new amounts considering inflation when need be. Further?
Yes, thanks. That seems reasonable. What kind of a review timeline would you suggest, and will we embed that in work plans?
Through to Councillor Adi Kelly, what we proposed with the previous bylaws was an annual review. And what we're doing is, as we're running into potential issues with bylaws, or we see things that can be adjusted, we're keeping track of those things. So we're keeping track of them on a rolling basis. And then that allows us to then compile all of those proposed changes and bring them forward to council on an annual basis. So the review for staff is, because it happens sort of in the moment as we're seeing potential issues, it's a lot easier than having to spend a whole bunch of staff time once a year to go through the whole bylaw. So again, there is some staff time that accumulates throughout the year, but it's not something that goes beyond our day-to-day work.
Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Worship. I'm just curious about the what is a no moving permit for, and the $1,000 fine that's associated with that.
It's funny that you asked that through to Councillor Nixon, because I looked at it then I was like, what is a no moving permit? But then I thought, it's if you're moving a building. So if you are moving a building, you're supposed to get a permit for that. You might see it with like a manufactured home, for example, or something along those lines. And we have seen like where buildings are lifted or moved, and there's new foundations put down, those types of permits. Yeah.
Councillor Shoesmith.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan. I've done several building movings, including my own. Couple comments on this. So in general, I do like this. I've been on some sites where definitely you could, if you felt like throwing the book at them, nail them for $7,000 pretty easy if you wanted. It occurs to me, though, several things. There are builders out there where those numbers would not deter them. And then there are others, you know, the one-man operations, an old guy's been doing it forever. Those could be quite crushing. And I just want to make the point that a lot of this stuff winds up coming down to discretion. You know, with punitive fine structures, you can get people into a pretty big hole. I'm just going to bring up an example of a guy I know had an entry, and the entry sprung a leak and it rotted out the supports. You know, you would think that you should be able to replace those, but you need a permit. A permit takes many weeks. Under that circumstance, the legal and correct thing to do would be not to live in that house until there was a permit. And then imagine you pull out that post and discover that the concrete is now not up to snuff and you need to do that. That requires a whole nother round of paperwork. So you could, in theory, if you wanted to be punitive and persecute people, you could actually drag things out for months and screw people around. However, in any sane, normal world, any inspector would kind of look at that sort of thing and go, yeah, just get it in, get that guy looked after, help him out, and be understanding. So what I'm getting at is there is no perfect system we could come up with that couldn't succeed in every situation. There's going to be issues where there's people who the fees are too small to bother, and there's going to be scenarios where following every rule would be onerous. And I think it would fall down to a large amount of discretion and compassion when interpreting these rules.
Yeah, if I may, Your Worship, and to be clear, we're not bringing this bylaw forward in order to go out and give everybody fines, right? Like, we hope we don't have to use this. That's the whole purpose. And if anything, this bylaw is a way to just, you know, again, send a message that we're looking to work with the building community and not put these fines down, but that we also want to be taken seriously as well, right? So there's a two-way street. And again, we're not looking to lay fines. We're just looking to say, you know, we have a bylaw. We want people to abide by it. But again, we are willing to work with applicants.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Simile. And just recently, I saw an example of a condo owner who had a leak above, and we worked very closely with that individual. It was an emergency situation, and a lot of discretion was applied in terms of making sure that person wasn't had to be relocated or moved So it could be used punitively. It's not typically used.
And further to that, Your Worship, and sorry to interrupt.
No,
we are working, like, I mean, this time last year, this time even 6 months ago, we were working within a fairly broken system and trying to make ends meet. And we've done a lot of things to try to fix that. And as far as, you know, emergency permits or those types of things, we are working on some policy language that will give us like a prioritization policy, for example, that would allow us to consider those things on more of an official basis than having to put everything off to the side and, you know, to deal with them ad hoc and one-off. So we are looking to put things in place that will help. And that will in turn, if something like a leaky condo were to happen, give that person the confidence to call up the city and ask for a permit as opposed to doing the work without one.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Further?
Thanks, Mayor Milligan. Thanks, Mayor Milligan.
Did he say
No.
Mayor me?
No, I said Mayor Milligan. Yeah, no, I'm Beaker over here. Me. No, I just wasn't saying any of that to cast any aspersion or anything like that. I just was making the point that as far as it goes, this fee structure is fine and reasonable, and it will depend upon a fine and reasonable implementation. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'm just curious about the phased out approach, like the phased in approach. Like, there's going to be education at first, or are we going to be? I mean, it sounds like we're going to be not bringing the big fist of the big government down on people, but what will the rollout look like for people? Is it go?
Yeah, Your Worship, through to Councillor Nixon, the plan here is to do a public period where we advertise and let people know that this is happening. It's a little bit different than our procedures and fees bylaw or our building bylaw, for example, because in those cases you don't have the choice but to pay the application fees. In these cases, as long as you're abiding by the bylaw, you're not having to deal with the MTIs, right? But again, I think there's a public education component, especially again to help send that message that that we are wanting to enforce our bylaw. We have a new bylaw. We want to be able to enforce it properly.
Other questions or comments from council? For me, I appreciate you updating this, Mr. Similini, given that it was last updated in 2006. It's long overdue. I did want to ask about one. I had the question about the no moving permit. Street number not posted. Is that for every residence? Yeah, I appreciate it's an emergency response thing. You want to be able to find the right house if you're responding, but.
Yeah, Your Worship, if I could elaborate, I believe it's for like a house under construction.
Under construction,
You need to have
okay.
that posted for emergency response purposes.
Okay.
I think that once a building permit once a house has occupancy, for example, I mean, you do need your house number posted.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if this fine applies to that.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll ask our corporate officer to read the recommendation.
The staff recommendation is that council give first, second and readings to Municipal Ticket Information Bylaw number 2041, Amendment Bylaw number 2545, 2026.
Mover, Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Ramadas. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Similini. Item 11.1, Elk Valley Recreation Access Pass Memorandum of Understanding. A report from our manager of Parks and Rec and Facilities. Sorry, Manager Hill.
All right, hardest part is over. So good evening. Tonight, I'll be speaking about the Elk Valley Recreation Access Pass Memorandum of Understanding for its approval. This initiative represents a collaborative effort to improve access to recreation across the Elk Valley. I'll begin with some background on how we got to this point and the work that has led us here today. The Elk Valley Recreation Access Pass was established in 2017 to provide residents of Fernie, Sparwood, and Elkford with access to recreation facilities across municipal boundaries. The original Memorandum of Understanding remained unchanged through 2023. In fall 2025, The three communities collaboratively reviewed and updated the Memorandum of Understanding to ensure it reflected current needs and remains fair and responsive. The proposed updates from this collaboration were presented to the Committee of the Whole on December 16th, 2025, and committee directed staff to proceed with the revised agreement. The updated Memorandum of Understanding since has been presented to all three committees and is now ready for council approval. Go. The final Memorandum of Understanding with all three communities feedback was provided to council in the agenda package. Sparwood and Elkford councils have approved the Memorandum of Understanding earlier this month. And staff recommend that council approve the Elk Valley Recreation Access Pass Memorandum of Understanding as presented.
Thank
Any
you, Manager
questions?
Hill. Questions from council? Seeing none. Sorry, Councillor Shoesmith. I
That's
apologize.
okay, Mayor Milligan. Thank you. I notice the RDK isn't on any of this. Is there a particular reason that slipped my awareness?
They were not included in the original Memorandum of Understanding. I'm not too sure what happened back then, but they weren't a part of it.
No fun for Hosmer then. I guess we can't share in the Hos.
I apologize for being pedantic, Manager Hill. There is one typo under term and termination. Designated contract should be designated contact.
Oh.
So I apologize for that.
Good to know.
Seeing no further questions, I'll ask our corporate officer to read the recommendation.
Staff recommendation is that council approve the Elk Valley Recreation Access Pass Memorandum of Understanding as attached, and that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to sign the MOU on behalf of the city of Fernie.
Mover? Councillor Nixon, seconded by Councillor Shoesmith. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Manager.
you.
Hill. With that, we'll move on to, sorry, Mr. Barnowski.
It may have been a tongue-in-cheek question about the regional district. There are just no public facilities with drop-in programming operated by the regional district in the Elk Valley.
Thank you. Although our councillor did refer to the Hawes as a recreation facility. I think it was a recreation facility. I don't think it is anymore. With that, we'll move on to reports from council members, and I will start with Councillor Shoesmith.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan. Couple things. Pretty sure it's my dad's birthday, so I haven't wished him a happy birthday yet.
Happy birthday.
So happy birthday, Chuck. I've been attending the budget events, well, the most recent one, and that's been very good. Feedback's been generally fairly positive. And I did help out a bunch with ski joring, mostly on the wrap up. And that was a lot of fun, but I do want to correct the record about that. There was a little rumor going around and some people were being criticized that maybe the city supported ski joring, and that was bad in some way. The city didn't, there was no ask. And when I explained that, I was, well, why not? So it's just no pleasing some people. But for the record, ski joring was a great success, and Freedom Equine did great, and they're very happy to do that here, but the city did not provide any things to them, just to make that clear to the people out there who were spreading that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, I attended the Business Banter Budget last week at the Polar Peak Books. Very well attended. It's a good turnout. Thanks to the staff for attending and giving a speech. That was really good. I really loved the Olympics this year. And it was so good. And I think it was just because of the personal connections as well. When you see people that you know on TV, it's kind of neat. I was a little bit sad about the hockey players on Sunday. Maybe that's too soon, but I wasn't too sad. I mean, I was standing on a mogul course when I found out in the middle of Panorama Mountain Resort, supporting future Olympians and coming down a 25-degree slope covered with 1,000 bumps and jumps. It was really entertaining. And so I wasn't too sad about that. Like, I was like, here we are, you know, I mean, this is the way it goes. We get a silver. I'm heading to the BC Winter Games tomorrow to support more athletes and their hopes and dreams. Youth sport is incredible, and it's investing in a better society and healthier adults and stronger community. So that's what I'm about to do. It should be super fun. I hope to make some more connections there with our local government friends. So it'll be fun.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Audie Kelly.
Thanks, Your Worship. Well, happy birthday, Chuck. Hope it's really a good one. Kudos to Freedom Equine and Ponies and Planks. Look out, Banff. We're coming for you. It was fantastic. Got some Grizz pins sold, saw a little bit of the action. Congratulations to Dave and Francesca, and many years of wedded bliss to you. They got married at Ponies and Planks, which was really cool. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. And speaking of Grizz pins, the chamber is still looking for volunteers to help them with Grizz Days. So you can go onto that website and put your name down. I'm sure everybody would appreciate it. And I think it's a festival that many, many locals really appreciate. I too attended the business banter and budget at Polar Peak. Thank you very much to the ladies for allowing the city to kind of hop in there with a little bit of short notice. I thought CFO and our communications manager did an excellent job. And I wanted to also say, speaking of communications, kudos to our communications team for transitioning us to our new platform on Let's Talk Fernie. Please check it out. There's going to be some budget tools there, and you can allocate funds and see how that works out. I attended my first chamber board meeting and was very warmly welcomed by the chamber board. And I'm really looking forward to advancing our relationship with the chamber and advancing some of the things that we've mutually been working on. And I'd like to thank our CAO for his hard work with that file. I also wanted to say kudos to the staff for the budget pop-ups. Bringing the budget to the people, I think, is fantastic. And I'm looking forward to hanging out with them at the Ghost Rider game on Friday. I also loved the Olympics, except for hockey. I'm sorry, but second place is like being the first loser. So that was really hard to take, and that was a bad day. And I can't imagine how the men felt. But no, truthfully though, amazing Olympics. Congrats to Dylan, that Councillor Nixon introduced us to. Was holding my breath that that group of folks didn't like break something. Like, oh my God, the height they got and everything was incredible. I also got to watch Mrs. Magic's granddaughter skating, and she was really, really so good, so entertaining. So that was really cool having Fernie connections to the Olympics. And I also want to give a huge shout out to the outdoor arena folks and the hard work they've done every chance they've had with the weather to get the rink going for people to enjoy. And I'm looking forward to, you know, some of the ideas and plans that they've got for the future. So yeah, I think that's all from me. And I will be at the Grizz Parade selling a Grizz pins. So buy a Grizz pin, and thanks everyone.
Buy Grizz pin and keep yourself out of jail. Councillor McIsaac.
Without the context, that sounds so much more interesting. Thank you, Worship. I, of course, have been away on holidays for a bit and traveling, and I just want, if you'll give me a little leeway here, I want to talk about that a little bit. And I've been extremely fortunate in my life to have had opportunity to travel to quite a few places. And I love the fact that I live in a place that I am excited to return home to. We live in a wonderful city. But this job has been challenging in that it forces me to see other places through elected officials' eyes now. And so I'm constantly looking at garbage cans and recycling and where they have lighting and what do the crosswalks look like and, all of those things. And the contrast between different places that I go to and what I see there, contrasting, I was recently in Siem Reap in Cambodia and I was in Singapore. These are two places with lots of people and so on. They could not be more different. And the primary thing, at least from standing there, walking around and talking to people, is the difference in the engagement of governance. The fact that taxes are collected and paid for city services. In Siem Reap, it is difficult to walk without walking in garbage. There is no municipal garbage collection. No one can drink the water in the entire country because people don't pay any taxes for that. And Singapore couldn't be a different contrast. The water is as good as it is in Fernie, if not better. The streets are clean, it is safe. I had a conversation with a taxi driver on the way to the airport and he talked about Singapore is expensive. It's like living in Vancouver. But I said, but how much is it worth to you to have your children be able to walk safely to school? A lot, right? And that's what you get. So really good governance. And it's not that we don't always get it right, but every person at this table, well, I've been here for the last 3.5 years, I feel really works hard at making sure that we're investing our time and energy and thought into the quality of life of all the people in the community. It's really evident when I come home and see the contrast from the places that I've been. So kudos to all of you and kudos to our staff who spend so much time and energy on the same thing. It's, I think it's very helpful to me personally to see the contrast between how it's done in other places and how it's done here. Again, we don't always get it right, but we're doing pretty well when I do the comparison. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Councillor.
It's good to be back.
Councillor Addis.
Thanks, Your Worship. Welcome back, Councillor. I'll be brief, Your Worship. I'll be attending the Foods with Friends at Salvation Army next Monday. Hopefully, I'll get a calendar invite from Chrissy. People seem to be inviting, but they don't put in a calendar request, and that creates havoc in my schedule. So, Chrissy, if you're listening to me, please send me the email. And same with Fernie District Association. Also, I am supposed to be at the board meeting next. Even before that, I wanted to have a pre-meeting just to kind of get the lay of the land. And we are playing a tag game here, and I'm asking them as well to send me an email to my Fernie address so that I can attend. And the third one I'll be doing is also at a dinner at the Cadets dinner Thursday night.
Mess dinner.
Mess dinner, yes, Thursday
Enjoy
night.
that.
Yes, I had the fortune to attend the last two cadets on your behalf. So looks like they remembered to invite me, and I'm really appreciative of that. Thank you.
Good. Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you. I too was at the Ponies and Planks. It was my first time attending that event or any ski joring event, and it was pretty wild. I may have gone home and said, I think I need to be part of a team next year. So we'll see how the body holds up till then. Also went to the budget pop-up today at Save-On, and we'll be attending the budget pop-up at the Aquatic Center tomorrow. So if people out there listening want to learn more about our budget, please make sure you're attending those. And lastly, a little bit more somber. Well, actually, before I get to that, it is my sister's birthday today. I am confident in that fact. So happy birthday, Kendra. But yeah, so, the last couple of weeks have been pretty heavy in our community, the entire valley. There's been a couple very tragic and significant motor vehicle accidents. The backcountry has been fairly unstable. Search and rescue have been called out to a number of tragic accidents, or at least one, but a few other call outs, and same with the patrol at the ski hill. They've dealt with some very significant injuries, and I just want everybody to take a second and remember there's consequences to our decisions and our actions, and when the weather's not ideal, we should slow down, whether that's skiing, whether that's on the highway, whether that's snowmobiling, whatever the case may be. But also to really truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank those first responders for getting out there when we shouldn't be and picking up the pieces for us. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you for that, Councillor. Yeah, I don't have much that hasn't already been touched on. Really salute the budget pop-ups, the whole notion of going to where people are. I think it's a great effort. So thank you for that. And I also wanted to comment that our budget meeting on Friday was excellent. I thought the detail was excellent. The presentations were spot on. It was a really great kickoff to that process. So thank you to everyone for that. Food with friends, yeah, you'll enjoy that. That's you just have to make yourself available and people will come and talk. It's a fantastic opportunity. And next week I have been invited to speak on a panel at the Tourism Association of British Columbia AGM and conference in Kelowna. I'm just there for the day to talk about how communities create that and sustain that environment of tourism. And one of the things, of course, I will touch on, or a couple of things are, if you manage the community for the locals, the tourists will come. I mean, that for me is a fundamental truth. I've talked a lot about the authenticity of this community, and that is absolutely key. And also the natural assets that we trade on every day are things we need to protect. So I'm really looking forward to that discussion, and I'll certainly report back as to how it goes. So with that, is there anything else? Yes, I'm trying to remember, the final day is the 28th, I believe, so the end of this week. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Artie Kelly. We still have a condolence book for the community of Tumbler Ridge at the Fernie Library. If folks want to go and express their best wishes to that community, and former Tumbler Ridge residents, the Harringtons from Sparwood, have very graciously agreed to hand deliver that to council in Tumbler Ridge on March 13th. So thank you for the reminder. With that, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:30.